Okay, so we're going to talk about two other angle pair relationships. We're going to talk about adjacent angles as well as congruent angles, which in the most case we're going to see with vertical angles, which are angles that are diagonally across from each other. So adjacent relationships is going to be very similar to our complementary and supplementary angles. We're going to do part plus part equals the whole this time. So with complementary and supplementary, we had them equaling either 90 or 180 based off of what type of angle we were looking at. In this case, we just are adding two parts to the whole, whatever the whole is. So if we're looking at this picture here, right, we've got angle MRK, right, which is a little angle, and then we've got angle KRW, which the yellow and the green kind of look the same there, making up the whole angle, which is MRW, right? So if we add both of those pieces together, we're going to get the whole entire angle. So let's work on putting these together. So here if we're looking for the measure of ADC, so here's ADC, which is the whole angle. We have got pieces of the angle. We've got AB or ADB, right? And remember, we name angles with 3 letters or with the vertex, okay? Or I could name this angle 1 as well. So angle 1 is 36, so I'm going to add it to angle 2, which is CDB here, to equal our whole, which is what we're looking for. So I'm going to put that as my x as for right now. So if we take 36 and add it to 22, we're going to get 58. So we were looking specifically for the measure of angle ADC. So the measure of angle ADC is going to equal 58 degrees. Okay, so again, here we're looking for the measure of MRW. So let me highlight MRW so we know what we're looking for. We're looking for MRW, which ends up being the whole angle. Oh, wait. If we know, it's as if the measure of MRW is, it should be 89 degrees there. We're finding the measure of MRK. Okay, so we're looking for MRK. So let me re-highlight my angle here that we're looking for. We're looking for MRK. So we're looking for that one, the question mark. Okay, and we know that the total angle this time is 89 degrees. So the whole thing is 89 degrees. So we're going to take our part, which is what we don't know. That's our x, which is this angle here. And then we're going to take the other part, which is WRK, and we're going to add it to it. So that's 36. And we're going to set it equal to our total angle, which is the whole big angle here, okay, which is 89 degrees. Okay, so we subtract 36 from both sides. And we get that angle to be 53 degrees, but I'm going to label it just as the way I need to. So the measure of angle MRK equals 53 degrees. Okay, now remember, this is an angle, so get us a degree symbol here. Okay, again, part plus part is equaling our entire whole. All right, so you're going to take this a step further. Okay, we've got K being interior to angle MRW. We know that MRK is 3x, which is already labeled for us. And we know that KRW is x plus 6, which is also labeled for us. And we know that this angle is 94 degrees. Okay, and we want to find the value of the measure MRK. So we're looking for MRK, which is that 3x there. Okay, so just as before, we need to do part plus part equals whole, where we're solving for x this time. Once we find that x value, we've got to plug it back in. So one of our parts, right, is the 3x. So we're going to do 3x, and then we're going to add to our other part, which is WRK, so plus x plus 6. And then we're going to equal our whole, which they've told us is 94 degrees. So we've got 3x plus x, which gives us a 4x plus 6 equals 94 degrees. We're going to subtract 6 from both sides. And when we do that, we're going to get 88. And then we're going to divide by 4. So x equals 22. Now, if you could get this first line, okay, and just type that into Desmos and get your value of x, I am so happy that you can do that. So please, please, please do that if you need to. Now, let me cue the question because I forgot to do that, okay? I'm finding the measure of MRK. I've only now found the value of x. So I need to take x and plug it back in for MRK. So we know that the measure of angle MRK is equal to 3 times our value of x, which was 22. So the measure of MRK is going to be 66 degrees. Okay, so we get 66 degrees there. Okay, so next we're going to talk about congruent angles. So the two ways we're going to see this is an angle bisector. Okay, remember bisect means to cut in half. And a vertical angle, right, which are those angles that are across from each other. So this one is going to be the only one that's different. We're not adding things together. It's actually just going to be part equals our part. Okay, so if we look at our two examples here, right, the first one here in red is an angle bisector. We've cut the original angle, this big angle, right down the middle, and we've said that angle 3 is congruent to angle 5. If you look, these arc marks that are here are signifying congruence for us. Okay, if we look at the picture on the right, which is the blue picture, these are vertical angles, right? They're making an X. Sometimes you can kind of see an hourglass as well. If you connect there, there's that hourglass. And those angles are going to be congruent to each other as well. So let's look at a few examples of how we're going to apply this. Okay, so if angle 4 is 67 degrees, so we know this is 67. We want to know what angle 2 is. So notice that angle 2 is across from angle 4. And if they're across from each other, they're vertical angles. So it's going to be 67 degrees. Now I want to take this a step further. Like, we know that 2 and 4 are vertical angles, but what about 2 and 3? Okay, or 4 and 3? Those are going to be our linear pair. So if we subtract from 180, our 67, we'll find that angle 3 is 113. And then angle 3 is across from angle 1, so angle 1 is also 113. So by just knowing one angle on the vertical pair, vertical angles, we could find what all of them were. Okay. All right, so we have if Km is the angle bisector of LKJ, and the measure of LKM is 38, so LK to M is 38 degrees. What is the measure of MKJ? So MKJ is MKJ J, that angle there. So they told us it was an angle bisector. And remember, angle bisectors means to cut in half. So we've cut the whole in half, which means the two pieces are the same. So this piece would also be 38. And then we want to know what LKJ is, which is the whole, L, K to J. So we're going to take 38 and we're going to add it to 38. So we get 76 degrees there for the whole. Last example, they're telling us that angle 4 is indeed congruent to angle 6, so I'm going to mark that they're congruent on my picture. And then they tell us that angle 4 is 8x plus 5, and angle 6 is 10x minus 13. And if they're telling us that they're congruent, and we're going to find all of these extra pieces, okay? But them being congruent is important to us. So when things are congruent, we set things equal to each other. So the two pieces I have, I'm going to set equal. I've got 8x plus 5 equals 10x minus 13. Again, if you can get this set up, you've done the geometry piece. Please plug it in to Desmos and make your life a little bit easier so you don't mess up on your algebra. Okay, but I will do the algebra up here for us. We're going to subtract 8x from both sides. And we're going to get 5 equals 2x minus 13. We're going to add 13 to both sides. So we get 18 equals 2x, and then divide by 2. So we get x to be 9. So I could put that in. And now that's not all they asked me for, right? They asked me for angle 6 as well. So I'm going to take my 9, I'm going to plug it back in for my angle 6. So 10 times 9 minus 13 gives me 90 minus 13, or 77. Now, if angle 4 and angle 6 are congruent, that would mean that angle 4 must also be 77. But I'm going to plug it in just to double check that I've done everything right. So 8 times 9 plus 5 is going to give me 72 plus 5, which is indeed 77. And then we've got angle 4 plus angle 6, which gives us the whole angle. So that's going to be 77 plus 77, which gives us 154 degrees there. Okay. Again, these are adjacent and congruent angles. If you have further questions, please see me in class.